In this video, I'm going to show you how using basic shapes from within the Canvas software, we can make our own page tabs. These can be used in card making, scrapbooking, mini books, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to close that out of the way. We're going to choose our basic shapes. I'm going to first of all choose a circle, and I'm going to choose this kind of rounded rectangle. Just going to make the circle a little bit smaller, holding the shift key down and dragging this in. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this, hold the shift key down and drag this in. I'm going to line them up roughly with each other. I'm going to go edit, align and centre. And when I move away, that's put this rectangle centrally to the circle. And while they're both selected, I'm going to hit weld. And that gives us one half of the shape. Now, we can either right click and create a duplicate and then hold the shift key down, and the duplicate's always on top. Rotate this and move it into place so it overlaps a little bit there. Again, we're going to align the items, so edit, align left, and when we move away they're aligned now and they're both still selected, so we can weld. That's given us one shape, and obviously again, you know, you can make this bigger or smaller, however you want to use it. For the second one, I'm going to use this arc, and I'm going to use the rounded rectangle, and I'm going to make this one a bit smaller than the arc. Line that up roughly, drag an imaginary box around everything, go to edit, align, centre. While they're both selected, weld. And then another way of duplicating is to hold your Alt key down on your keyboard and left click, and that will put a duplicate directly on the top. So if we do that, and while we're doing that, if we hold our Alt key down and left click and then rotate this, it will put us a duplicate directly on top, and then we can either use the arrows on the keyboard to move it up, and that should keep the two objects aligned. But if we want to make doubly sure, we can click away, drag an imaginary box around everything, go to edit, align and left, and nothing moved, so they were aligned, and then we're going to weld. And that's given us another shape, and again we can hold our shift key down and we can make that smaller. And that's just a quick way how to make your own page tabs from basic shapes within the software. Now, let's say we wanted to do it with this scallop star. The easiest way to do it will be to get a box, put a box directly over the middle, drag it out so it overlaps on either side, and drag this one in, and then align them both. Centre, so they're both centered on each other, and weld. That gives us another shape. Obviously we can then make it smaller if we want to. We can adjust it however we want to. We can duplicate it, rotate it, align it and weld it. And that gives us another shape. Now, say we want to break a shape in half. If we just choose that star again, if we double click on this, it exposes all the nodes and a new set of icons here, which are the editing node icons. Now, this line here that's turquoise is the line that's just selected at the moment. And if we use this last icon here, which is open close outline, and click that once, it breaks that line there. When I first started using this software, I thought, okay, that's fine, that's really cool. I'll click on this one and I'll break this line so I can divide this shape in half, and went to use the same icon, and all as it did was joined it back up again. So while this one's still turquoise again, if we go back to the first and delete, And then if we go to the minus, it will delete this one, because what it's going to do, anything that's highlighted, by using the minus delete point, it will delete that point, but it deletes them kind of clockwise or counterclockwise depending on where you select it. So this one's selected. If I hit minus, it will take that away. If I select that again and hit minus, it'll take that away. If I select that one, it'll take that one away, which is quite tedious, and you could work your way around and divide your shape that way. But if we just select everything and delete it for now and go back to the shape and then double click to expose the nodes again, the easiest way I've found is to drag an imaginary box around the sections that you want to delete. So say we want to cut the shape horizontally in half. If we left click somewhere to the left of where we want to start and drag our imaginary box around until everything that we want to delete is selected with our imaginary box, and as you can see is all turquoise, that's selected all those nodes now. And if we hit delete, that's deleted them, but it will automatically join them up for you. So if we want this to be an open shape, if we click on this line to make it turquoise and then choose that and click away, we've now got an open shape. We could obviously then weld that to another shape. But say for instance we wanted to join up those two lines again now. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and this is where I find this software to be a little bit hit and miss, quite frankly, but we'll have a go and see what happens. Right, I'm going to click on the select tool, which just deselects anything I've got on my page at the moment. Because I'm at 204% zoom, it's not easy to see what's going on the rest of my page. I'm going to click the path icon. I'm going to start just left of this bottom section here. I'm going to click once and drag out. I'm not holding my mouse down, I've just clicked once and literally dragging a line out. And if you want to keep it straight, you hold the shift key down on your keyboard. And when you get to the end, you double click and that anchors that line. Now I'm going to double select it to select the nodes. And I'm going to click this node and drag it in until it roughly lines up with this point here. And I'm going to click this one in and drag this one in until it lines up with this point here. And while it's selected, I'm going to try and join it and see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you're just going to have to persevere with this bit, I'm afraid. So we're going to click that, and then I'm going to click off and move this and see if it's joined it, and it's not joined. So I'm going to undo and go back, and I'm going to zoom in on this corner just to make sure that we've got our lines touching, because sometimes they look as though they are until you zoom in and they're not necessarily. So I'm going to double click on this bottom line, and you can see my node line here, and I'm going to drag it down to roughly where I would think there would be a node on here. And I'm going to zoom back out to 50% so you can see better. I'm going to click off and I'm going to click back on it twice again to select and see what happens. Click join. I don't know whether it's worked. It has worked this time. If I zoom in, you'll see it's joined. So there's my original line that I drew, and this has now given me a joined shape. As I said, this software is a little bit hit and miss, but you know, you can only try it and see what happens. Again, now using the node tools, if we get ourselves a box, a square, and say we want to make this line into an arc, we could weld a circle onto it. We'd have to line it up and weld everything together. But what we can do is double click to select the nodes. This line's selected for us. If we go up here and choose curve, it will automatically add two handles in for us. And then if we click and drag, we can drag this out into a curve. And obviously you've got to try and space these out evenly so you get a nice even arc. And then if we click away, you can see now we've turned a square into a square with an arc top. I'm going to undo all that, go back to the basic shape, double click, and then this time if we leave it on straight and click the plus add a point, it adds a point into the middle. So because we've chosen a straight line, this won't arc now, but if we click and drag this out, it makes a point. I'm just going to undo that, and I'm going to undo so we get back to just a square. Now, double click, and what we can do now is we can add a point, and it'll put a point in the middle. Then if we click here to select this line, we can put a point in there, and if we select here to select this line, which is turquoise, and put a point in there, we've now added these extra nodes in. Because we were on straight, we can drag that one out, we could drag that one in. I'm going to undo. We could do this with a straight line. Select a straight line, click, drag, anchor by double clicking, then double click on the line, and we're on straight by default. That puts us, select our line, drag an imaginary box around everything to select it, click plus, it puts us a point in the middle. Now if we drag an imaginary box around just to highlight these two, we can add another point there. If we click here to highlight this line, or I'll just double click again. Sorry, my mouse is, sometimes it's difficult when you've drawn a straight line to pick up the points. You can drag an imaginary box around this little section and it highlights this for you, and we can put points in there. And again, because they're straight line points, we can take them up and down. If we go back to our select tool and choose another line, double click on it to select the nodes, and if we choose curve and add a point, it's added, and I'll click that twice so it's added two lots of two in. We can then, we could make this wavy, we could set this one down. So it is very basic, but I hope that does help a little bit. If you do have any questions, leave me a comment below and I'll try and work out the answer if I don't know it for you. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Thank you for now. Please like and subscribe if you do want to see more tutorials. Thanks a lot.